This is the story of Stephen Donziger, a human rights lawyer who took on one of the largest oil companies in the world. For decades, Donziger fought to bring justice to the indigenous people of the Ecuadorian Amazon, who were victims of one of the world's worst oil contaminations. His fight exposed systemic corruption, corporate power, and the cost of standing up for the truth. The contamination in Ecuador. In the 1960s, Texaco, later acquired by Chevron, began oil drilling operations in the Ecuadorian Amazon. Instead of following proper environmental protocols, they dumped billions of gallons of toxic oil waste into open, unlined pits and deliberately channeled the waste into rivers and streams. These same water sources were used by indigenous communities for drinking, bathing, and fishing. The waste was carcinogenic, causing death, illness, and devastation to local ecosystems. Texaco's actions were not accidental. The company built a system to externalize the costs of pollution onto vulnerable indigenous communities. The lawsuit. In 1993, Stephen Donziger, a young lawyer, visited the Amazon and witnessed the destruction. Shocked by the injustice, he filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of 30,000 Ecuadorians. First Phase 1. Filing in the U.S. The case began in New York, where Texaco's headquarters were located. Chevron argued the case should be heard in Ecuador, a system they thought they could control. Second Phase 2. The Ecuador trial. In 2003, the lawsuit was moved to Ecuador. Over 8 years of trial, evidence of environmental destruction mounted. Thousands of indigenous people rallied to witness history. 3. The landmark victory. 2011. The Ecuadorian courts ruled against Chevron, awarding the plaintiffs a $20 billion judgment, later upheld by Ecuador's Supreme Court. It remains the largest environmental judgment in history. At the first ace Chevron's counterattack, Chevron refused to pay. Instead, they launched a massive legal and personal attack on Donziger. RICO lawsuit. Chevron sued Donziger under a U.S. racketeering law designed for the mafia, accusing him of fraud. $60 billion claim. Chevron filed a $60 billion lawsuit against him, the largest amount ever filed against an individual. Private prosecution. When federal prosecutors declined to pursue Chevron's contempt charges, a private law firm with Chevron ties was appointed to prosecute Donziger, an unprecedented move in U.S. legal history. Imprisonment and detention. In 2019, Donziger was placed under house arrest for refusing to turn over his computer, citing attorney-client privilege. Despite the minor charge of contempt of court, a misdemeanor, he spent 993 days detained, including 45 days in a federal prison, far beyond any precedent for such an offense. The detention sparked outrage. 68 Nobel laureates, legal associations, and activists rallied behind Donziger, viewing his treatment as corporate retaliation and a miscarriage of justice. Systemic issues. Highlighted, Donziger's story reveals deep flaws in global justice systems. 1. Corporate power. Chevron's ability to weaponize courts and media illustrates corporate capture of democratic institutions. Second, media complicity. Chevron's influence through advertising has silenced critical reporting, including major outlets like the New York Times. 3. Environmental injustice. Indigenous communities continue to suffer, their lives and land destroyed, while Chevron avoids accountability. The fight continues. Donziger remains steadfast. Efforts are underway to enforce the Ecuadorian judgment in other countries where Chevron has assets. Simultaneously, Donziger is seeking a presidential pardon and raising awareness about the broader battle for environmental and democratic justice. Amazon Justice Fund supports legal enforcement of the judgment. Solidarity campaigns. Donziger's case symbolizes the need to protect environmental defenders and resist corporate impunity. Conclusion: Stephen Donziger's story is more than a legal battle. It is a fight against systemic corruption and environmental destruction. It is a testament to the cost of standing up for justice and a reminder that, in Donziger's words, to save the planet, we must protect the rights of those who defend it. Call to action. Learn more at freedonziger.com. Support environmental justice and amplify the voices of those on the front lines. It's a battle of ideas, a battle of stories, and a battle to awaken others to our interconnectedness with all life.